Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com. Hello everyone and welcome to SciTech Culture, the show where we discuss science, technology and culture in its myriad of forms. My name's Ben Warner and I'm joined by my good friend, colleague and fellow co-host Steve Kern. How are we today, Steve?
I'm good, thanks, Ben. Hello, everyone out in SciTech Culture land.
Yeah, absolutely. And are we worried about people pirating our data? Do we have to go send them speculative invoicing documents and letters? Well, we'll find out shortly.
We will. Luckily, we go out free to the public, so that's a positive start.
Yeah, we can't be pirated. All right, so as that alludes to, we're going to discuss a recent court ruling in Australia, which effectively is the first time a court's ruled that ISPs are going to be compelled to hand over customer data to a copyright holder for basically pirating their movies. In this case, the film The Dallas Buyers Club by Dallas Buyers Club LLC. And basically, even though there's some conditions that have been put on the court ruling, so the judge has to review any letters that go out. There's not all the anyone that's named will be privately held. It still will allow this company to basically send out letters demanding. Well, we don't know what they'll demand, but they can demand compensation from anyone that's pirated the film. This is a really important shift in the landscape here because previously ISPs just refused to hand over data voluntarily. They didn't. Obviously, they know exactly everything you've ever downloaded, but they feel that that's a privacy issue, that they shouldn't be just handing out that data out. And
damn straight it's a privacy issue.
Exactly. So what do you think about the wider implications of this, Steve?
Okay, well, I think there are two parts to this. And one is obviously the privacy issue, and the other is the piracy issue. So, you can tackle either one. But there shouldn't be any data exchanged. If it was law enforcement, or perhaps, but to give it to a private company to pursue legal proceedings against people, that is an invasion of privacy. That has huge ramifications for all of us.
What's really disturbing about this is this idea that they can, what's called speculative invoicing, which happens overseas, which now is going to happen here as a course of this ruling, is this idea that they can just send out letters demanding some form of compensation to people and potentially take them to court or infer that they could in this letter. And that, to me, is just a bit of a shocker, really. I just would have thought that if they were going to be doing that sort of thing, they should do it to the people that have been identified as offering the pirated content in the first place, rather than chasing people down that happen to download it themselves. Give them a warning letter or something like that, rather than demand compensation.
Well, this is a really grey area too of law. So typically in copyright law, what you would sue for or pursue damages for is loss of income. Now, that can happen, if I sell 100 pirated DVDs, the cover price of those DVDs that I've pirated is the loss.
Yeah.
In this instance, there's actually no evidence that there's loss. There's only an implied idea that there's loss for this distribution. And this comes back to what you're saying. The loss should be incurred the person who distributes, not the person who uses it. Whether morally or ethically, people who pirate, movies or any copyrighted material on the internet should be liable is another question. But legally, it's the loss. But here it's very hard to prove what the loss was.
I'm just wondering too if this is like just another attempt to try and figure out a way for them to recoup these so-called losses, and that maybe they haven't had that much success in chasing those distributors of the pirated content, and maybe that's why they're trying to do it this way to scare the hell out of people.
I don't think there's any doubt they're trying to scare the hell out of people. But as I say once again, the privacy issue here is incredible. That a private company can get access to personal records. This is not a criminal crime. This is actually a copyright crime. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't want to go any further on this because I'll probably get it wrong. But it's not the same sort of thing. This is not a matter of terrorism. It is not a matter of somebody being criminally, willfully negligent, or this is just pure civil damages for IP loss. Well, if you can prove that there was any loss, these people might never have watched the movie anyway or bought a copy of the DVD. So what is the loss?
Yeah, I mean, that's an important point. What if they'd ended up buying the thing anyway, eventually?
Or if they didn't, or they were never going to. And as you say, who knows, maybe, I don't even know how BitTorrent works, but maybe it automatically got downloaded as the next thing in the queue, and you never even consumed it.
Exactly.
And legally you shouldn't be, liable. So, but, I mean, the bigger question here is privacy.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, what do you think, Ben, that an Australian court can demand that Australian companies give data to not even an enforcement agency, but to a organisation out of the US, out of another country?
Yeah, I just don't see how. I was just surprised that they actually upheld or went down this path. That the judge did this in this instance. Obviously, there's a big sort of overall topic at the moment about metadata and the government passing the laws for that sort of thing in terms of that. But like you say, this is different. It's not as if this is just, it's a copyright thing. A potential loss of revenue, but at the end of the day, lives are not being lost. That sort of thing. So, I would have thought that they should have maybe I'm not this. Well, obviously the company's in this case, the copyright owner's trying to do whatever they can to recoup the money, and they're pursuing different avenues because maybe they weren't successful in others. But I would have thought that what should have happened here is that they should have, depending on how they've gone in the past with other rulings, etc. It's like I said, it's the source that really should have been shut down or pursued rather than the people that end up consuming it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we'll both agree on this. So we're certainly not condoning piracy or any of these things. It's just the way in which this company is pursuing that information and trying to recoup the implied losses is
because there'd be a lot of people out there that would. Maybe they are serial downloaders of BitTorrent, or maybe they just pop in once a month, and maybe that was the only film that they downloaded that month because someone at work told them, oh, yeah, you can get it this way. What, are they going to now cop this? And how many people out there right now are scared that they're going to be, litigation and demands for compensation are coming their way because they don't actually know if that's actually going to happen.
Well, that's
now.
right. And you don't know who watched the video. So if you had a friend staying and they downloaded it using your Wi-Fi, what do you have to do? Do you have to clear your name by dobbing them in? It's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And you would hope, and maybe we'll finish this on a more positive note in terms of legal downloading and streaming, is that now we're getting to a point in Australia, because obviously the argument's been so far that because content providers haven't been providing Australians in particular with much content, and yet we see them being distributed in other countries, predominantly the US, for example, first, and sometimes we don't get anything at all. That's what leads people to download via BitTorrent all these movies and TV shows. But now, we've seen Netflix come onto the scene. We've got a couple of other providers, I think Presto and Stan, that offer these services. You've got other established stores like iTunes, the Play Store, so many different places that you can now get all this content. And I would think now that with Netflix in there, they might not be able to do it for the first year, but once those rights deals become available again, probably from next year, you can bet your bottom dollar that those guys are going to get in there and force say traditional players like Foxtel to not have the exclusive right to any content. And
that's right.
And
the prices will come down as well, which we're already seeing with Netflix and those other subscription
Well, I mean, at a $10 per month average price, I mean, that's just nothing. I mean, I watched the third season of House of Cards through Netflix recently, and okay, the first month was free, so technically if I shut the account down now, I would have watched it for free, but I'm going to keep going with it. But if you think about how much traditionally it would cost to buy a season like that, that's actually really cheap to watch it that way. And plus you get it in the full high-def version from the source, and it works fine. So I think too, maybe along the way, especially in this country at least, there'll be a better option for people in terms of downloading films and watching them, and maybe they won't be as encouraged to pirate these films and illegally download them.
Well, let's hope so. And let's hope it goes the same way as the music industry, where we now see that these files become reasonably priced, and that's then hopefully part of getting rid of all this piracy problem. Because piracy does hurt the industry. It's not a good thing, but this example is just a woeful way about trying to fix it.
I guess Steve Jobs was onto something when he said you need to offer people a viable legal alternative, and if you do, then they stop doing it illegally.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely right. We've got iTunes to thank for that.
Absolutely. All right, Steve, we might wrap it up there. So thanks again for that. And we'll have to keep an eye on this particular one, especially I'm sure there'll be stories in the coming weeks and months when these letters finally do start hitting people, because I'm sure that they're going to hit the papers and the news when they do finally come out.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see this develop. I mean, this is something privacy-wise. I mean, what happens to that data once it's handed over? Can anyone else get their hands on it? We'll find out, and that's going to be very interesting to see what the ramifications are. I mean, maybe it will be enough to scare people into not pirating anymore.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so don't forget our website, scitechculture.com. You can get all of our links there, and don't forget to subscribe to us on our audio and video channels and also our blogs. You can interact with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. I'd love to hear from you there, and if you think anyone's interested in our discussions that we have in all things science, technology, and culture, then feel free to send them to our website. We'd greatly appreciate that. All right, so that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.